Welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome to the show. So, holla at your boy. Shameless plug right up front. For those of you who do not know yet, however many of you are left, this show is now, I don't know why I'm doing this hand motion as I talk to you. This show is now available also as a podcast. It is not just available on YouTube. If you like watching each individual YouTube clip back to back to back, by all means, be my guest. Love y'all. Keep doing it. That's my bread and butter right there. YouTube is my homington. But for those of you who prefer podcasts, you can check out the show on virtually all the podcast platforms, all your usual podcast platforms. You get the daily shows in their entirety. Every day we have a show. So you get one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sometimes you get a little bonus show on a Friday or Saturday. Of course, you got Crystal Kyle and Friends also available on the podcasting outlet. So right up front, shameless plugging y'all to death. But we got a great show for you today. We have CNN is going to continue their descent into CNN Classic, which is both sidesism to the max, which is let me pretend like every claim from every insane person is equally valid or has some merit. We also have a Fox News host acknowledging that I think Republicans have gone too far. And it's not going to be the Fox News host that you think it is. Steve Doocy has been, on some new shit recently. This is not Steve Doocy. It's one of the further right hosts who's like, I don't know about that one. So we'll talk about that. We also have a flat-out anti-democracy move, an anti-direct popular vote move coming out of Michigan. The Michigan Election Board has blocked the Michigan population from voting directly on an issue. I have a lot to say about that. And then later on in the show, Don Jr. is coked up and ranting and raving. We have Republicans arguing for higher prescription drug prices. That is not an exaggeration. The Supreme Court has now basically plummeted in terms of its support and how legitimate an institution the American people think it is. I'll give you the specific numbers on that and some more devastating climate change news. We're talking about ocean heat records for all time. All time. I wonder if there's going to be some negative consequences associated with that. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's get started here. So this is in Mediaite. CNN's Poppy Harlow pushes Biden spokesperson to say whether President Biden will apologize to Republicans for semi-fascism attack. Okay. Look, I'm going to say up front, my guess is Poppy Harlow here is trying desperately to keep her job. I think she feels like she's on the chopping block. She maybe is up next because they axed Stelter. They axed John Harwood. I'm sure Don Lemon is shitting his pants. I'm sure all the, the more hardcore partisan hosts, they're probably like, oh. Poppy Harlow, in my experience, has not been one of the really hardcore partisan hosts, but clearly now she's leaning even further into the, let's be like enlightened centrists, bro. Let's be like both sides. Maybe should Biden apologize for hurting people's feelings? Should he do that? I'm just saying. I'm just asking. So anyway, let's dive into the clip and then we'll break it down as we go here.
Extreme views. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, as you know, just spoke a few minutes ago in the president's hometown, no coincidence there, of Scranton, so pre-buttal, if you will, arguing the president's trying to distract Americans from the problems.
Pre-buttal sounds like a dirty word. Pre-buttal? I don't know if I've ever heard the word pre-buttal before. It sounds utterly made up. I mean, I get it. It's intuitive what it means, right? It's like a rebuttal, but before you even hear what the person says. But, okay, never say the word pre-buttal ever again.
Many folks at home face kitchen table issues, the economy, education. He also called on the president to apologize tonight for saying, as you know, a few days ago, that the MAGA movement is, quote, like semi-fascism. He said that at that private donor event. Take a listen to what McCarthy's asking for.
When the president speaks tonight at Independence Hall, the first lines out of his mouth
he has the charisma of a dirty diaper.
Should be to apologize for slandering tens of millions of Americans as fascists.
Okay, this is, first of all, way to ominously talk like a movie villain. Second of all, that's just a lie about what Biden said. Biden he goes out of his way to clarify Like, I'm not talking about all Republicans. I'm maybe not even talking about most Republicans. I'm talking about the MAGA wing of the party, the people who are totally sycophantic and cultish when it comes to Donald Trump. And they ignore all of the qualifiers and the caveats, and they go right to apologize for calling us all fascists. Well, he also said semi-fascist, by the way. Again, they like to just gloss over all of the nuance, because, of course, the nuance proves the point of Biden. Like, when you get into the specifics, Biden is correct on that. So they're trying to gloss over all that. You better apologize. By the way, whatever happened to, like, facts over feelings, bro. We're not the snowflake people. You're the snowflake people. Please apologize to me. You hurt my feelings. And by the way, people dug up clips of Trump within like 5 minutes of this becoming a story. People dug up clips of Trump calling Democrats fascists. So he's doing the same thing that, Biden did. The difference is when Biden does it, it's accurate. But this idea like, oh, clutch my pearls and where's my fainting couch? Oh, you said mean words about me. Look, when it comes to the GOP elected officials, there are very few descriptors that mean evil that I wouldn't use, okay? When it comes to the voters, totally different story. When it comes to regular average Joes and Janes just trying to get by and pay the bills and make sure their kids are okay, totally different story. The elected officials, man, he ain't hard enough on you guys.
Will the president apologize?
I'll say this, Poppy. I will let the actions of Kevin McCarthy...
Okay, let me just say, I already don't like her answer. She's not good at this job. Jen Psaki is really annoying in many ways, and I mean, the job is to be a professional propagandist. Like, you are a professional liar. You are a professional spin doctor, right? But when you are asked that question, you have to lead with, no, of course not. Like, how do you lead with, what I will say is this. Here's a bunch of fluffity Fluffington for you. Here's some flowery language where I'm not really going to answer the question while I pretend like I'm answering the question. No, just be like, no, of course not. It's accurate. Of course not. God, geez. I would love it. I would love to be in a world where Bernie Sanders was president and I was the White House spokesperson. Oh, that would make my life. That'd be the best thing ever. There's nothing I would like to do more than slam charlatans, liars, and idiots and do it from this podium. Do it with this position. Oh my God, that'd be so great. Oh, that'd be the best thing ever. Oh.
Over the past 2 years to speak for itself. There was a moment on January 6th or around January 6th where Kevin McCarthy spoke very forcefully about what happened on that day, about what that attack meant for our nation. But you may have missed it if you blinked an eye, because sadly, right after that, soon after that, he aligned with the most extreme part of his party. And that is a sad thing to say. That is not a great thing to say. That is a sad thing to say.
I mean, that is true, right? Like, you had a bunch of Republicans, including Ted Cruz in the aftermath, was like, oh my God, this went too far. They're attacking law enforcement. We don't agree with these January 6 people. We think they're kind of crazy. Like, a lot of them did say stuff like that. And then, yeah, in 2.5 minutes, they flipped the narrative to like, wait, no, it was Antifa. Or actually, no, it wasn't Antifa. It was our people, but it was kind of based. And they just kept, moving the goalposts and changing the narrative and changing the story. And now we're at the part where it's like, let's just pretend like that faction of the right doesn't exist at all. It's really disingenuous.
We talk about that mob, that insurrection that I just spoke about that landed on our Capitol to attack our democracy, to attack law enforcement officers. Again,
I don't think she's good at making this case, to be fair.
He spoke to it, and then you blink an eye again.
So, Karine, I understand, our viewers, I think, fully understand the shift that Kevin McCarthy made from what he said then to what he said later. But I asked you about the president and what the president will say tonight. So I'm going to take it as a no, the president will not apologize. But
So she's going to go on and ask more. She was going to go on, fuck, we're going to get hit with an ad. Yes, I muted it. I successfully muted the ad in time. Hooray. All right, so, look. She followed up. So she asked the question, which, by the way, I think is a total bullshit question. And then she follows up. Now, I understand, right? CNN is under new management. New management says, we don't want CNN to be like MSNBC. We don't want them to be Democratic partisans. We don't want them to be mindlessly anti-Trump. But, I mean, that kind of a question and this kind of approach is even worse than being a Democratic partisan or being mindlessly anti-Trump. You're going to ask Biden to apologize for something that he said, which was undeniably accurate. Now, you could have a disagreement in terms of strategy. Like, is it strategically intelligent to call the right semi-fascists or fascists, and how much nuance should you inject into the conversation in terms of saying, hey, they're different segments, etc.? I think that's a reasonable conversation. In terms of the accuracy of it, Crystal and I went through, I mean, we took out, you know, what's the guy's name? Something Paxton. He's a political scientist and an expert on fascism, and we went through all of his points. Like, here are the characteristics of fascism. You just look up the standard definition of fascism on Wikipedia, and you read through it, and you realize, yeah, a lot of these apply. I mean, maybe you could say a handful of things here and there don't apply, but a lot of them apply at the very least. At the very least, you have to say Trump and his sycophants are full authoritarian. Trump literally just said the other day in his rally, again, death penalty for drug dealers. That's full authoritarian. Hey, put me back in as president right now, or at the very least redo the election. That's full authoritarian. He's funding January 6th rioters and saying, I'm going to do a full pardon and apologize to them. Full authoritarian. Full authoritarian. So, and you get the sense from MSNBC here, or excuse me, CNN, that Bobby Harlow's asking this question because she's afraid of management and she thinks management is going to axe her, so she's trying to like do the both sides thing now. Because she knows this. She has to know this. So let me ask you a question. If Biden didn't call them semi-fascist, if instead he called them authoritarian, would CNN still be asking this question? Hey, should Biden apologize for calling the Trump wing of the party authoritarian? Because again, if your job is to be a journalist, to be a reporter, you are in the news media, shouldn't you just like, you know, take that question and answer it and explore it? And say, okay, well, what policy positions does Trump espouse? Okay, let's go through those with a fine-tooth comb. He signed a pro-torture executive order. Well, that seems pretty authoritarian. That seems, at the very least, semi-fascist. Like I just said, he wants the death penalty for drug dealers. That seems pretty authoritarian. That seems pretty, at the very least, semi-fascist. And you go down the list. You go through all of them. And, you know, they're not doing that. It's just like, hey, should Biden apologize? So, in other words, the right is getting to set the narrative now because you have, of course, Newsmax and One American News are full pro-Trump propagandists. Fox News is a Republican Party propagandist. And now you have CNN, which is doing both sides-ism all day. And so that way outweighs MSNBC, which, by the way, I don't like MSNBC's model because they're corporate Democrat apologists. Like, they are the propaganda arm of the corporate Democratic Party. They, like, love Nancy Pelosi and shit like that. But, so there is no left voice. And in this conversation, there is no objectivity or empiricism that's allowed in. Asking Biden to apologize for something that he said, which was finally true, which was finally accurate, should he apologize for it? Jesus Christ. Why not ask Republicans, the elected Republicans, to apologize for being authoritarian, for being fascist? If you are denying the outcome of the election at this late date, that is at the very least authoritarian. Because we know, we've had the 60-plus court cases. The rigged election side lost virtually every one of them. We had the Arizona audit, and we know that Biden actually won by more votes than we thought he won by on election day in Arizona. Now, it was the rigged election people who said, when we do the audit, it's going to prove that Trump actually won. Well, how'd that go? Now you just ignore it because it doesn't have the results that you want it to have. So, look, if this is the direction CNN is going, then I was wrong. When I said, hey, it's equally bad to do the false equivalence all day long versus the corporate Democrat propaganda, I honestly think that this is worse. This is worse. Because you're getting such a totally skewed picture of the world, and you're kowtowing to the snowflake feelings of disingenuous people on the right. That's what you're doing. You're going to take Kevin McCarthy at face value for what he's saying? Please. I mean, this is a guy who's trying to, like, while being sycophantic to Trump, and while fundamentally being in the cult, he wants to morally grandstand like it's outrageous that Biden called a spade a spade. No, Biden was correct to do that. And now CNN is carrying water for the other side with the both sidesism. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.